A salary is the drug they give you when they want you to forget about your dreams.
Welcome to the Corporate Dropout Podcast. I'm your host, Alacia Citro. After a successful career in tech, suffering from burnout, stress, and anxiety, I walked away from a multiple six-figure career to chase my passions and purpose as a coach and entrepreneur. This show is going to inspire, equip, and empower you to do the same. Let's get it. Hello, friends. Today I'm interviewing my hypnotherapist, Kelsey Padigos. Kelsey is an entrepreneur, transformation coach, certified hypnotherapist, and host of the Confidence Company podcast. I can't wait for you to learn more about her journey from traditional employment to entrepreneurship and how she's been able to level up her own life and the lives of her clients through hypnotherapy. Kelsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what a pleasure to get to interview you today. Our sessions have been so impactful, and I can't wait for people to learn more about you and how this can help them in their own life too.
Yay, me too.
So let's start out with the professional piece. I love starting out with guests sharing that part of their background. Now, you've been an entrepreneur for nearly a decade now, having opened up a coffee shop with your husband in 2012 and 4 days after you returned from your honeymoon, by the way. Couldn't believe that when I heard that on your podcast. What did you do before you became an entrepreneur?
Okay, so I worked in Nordstrom and I worked at Bloomingdale's. So I was in the really fun, high luxury retail space. I loved being in a place where I could earn commission. So that was always appealing to me, to be able to have some control over my paycheck. But yeah, that's pre-entrepreneur days.
And how long did you work in luxury retail?
Gosh, I was 18 when I first got hired at Bloomingdale's. And I left, I guess, when I opened the coffee shop, I was 24. So 6 years.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
We have that in common, by the way. I too worked at Nordstrom for a summer. And I have a theory that anyone who's successful in a type of profession where they're interfacing with other people has either worked in restaurants and or retail. So you are furthering my theory.
Yes, absolutely. You learn so much about customer service. I think that that's definitely something I'm grateful for learning from retail, even though there's a lot of things that I didn't enjoy about it at the time. Looking back, I'm like, wow, like learning all of the customer service piece and connecting with people and how to sell is like super vital when it comes to entrepreneur.
Totally sets you up for when you're your own business owner.
Yeah.
So you told me in one of our first sessions about how you lied about your personal life or priorities in order to get one of these retail jobs, and that was a light bulb moment for you. Can you tell us the story?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I actually didn't end up getting the job. It was a blessing, but it was an aha moment because I was pregnant, like very early in my pregnancy with my first son, Elvis. And at the time, I was married, I had 2 stepkids, and I got an interview for this management position at a very popular name brand store. I'm not going to say the store, but I was interviewed by the store manager and a manager I would be working under. And when they were interviewing me, they were asking me all these questions about my personal life. And they were like, you don't have any kids, do you? Or this is a really intense job. Can you do this? Like, are you willing to come in on your days off and all these things? I was like, and at the time I said, yes. I was like, I said, yes, I can handle it. And no, I don't have any kids, right? Which was a complete lie because I had stepkids and I was freaking pregnant. Yeah. So I was willing to lie to get the job and then be like, oops, I'm actually pregnant. But afterward, it was so uncomfortable and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And there was still a part of me that wanted it because I felt like I needed it to prove something about me. I was wanting to move up in retail into higher management positions. But that was one of those moments where it just completely turned me off to the whole thing. And, when it comes to designing your life and thinking about what kind of life do I actually want to live, Is that something that is good for me, that I desire? Am I willing to like pretend I don't have a family for the sake of money, or like making more money and making up? Like, ew. I don't wish that upon anyone. I don't think that that is like ethical. And I think that like we need to claim something better for ourselves.
Totally. Why I asked you this too is I think so many of, especially the women listening to this, can relate to this at some level. I'm pretty sure, I'm not an HR expert, but I'm pretty sure you legally can't ask people questions like that in an interview. Although there are other ways that they can kind of get to that to see what you're willing to do. And I totally relate to that as well. I mean, I've definitely overstated what I was willing to do in order to get a job, even though I knew there would be no balance, right, between the family life. So is that what sort of catapulted you into realizing like, no, it's time for me to become an entrepreneur and play by my own rules?
Yeah, I think that was one of the things. Yeah, I think I kept hitting up against a wall. Is that the expression? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I felt like I kept trying these things and they weren't succeeding. And at the time, I was in my early 20s, so there may have been some sense of entitlement going on too. Like, gosh, I'm just so much better than this. Like, why doesn't anyone want to give me this job? And at Nordstrom, I mean, they're great. Like, you can get promoted within the company and everything. And I did get promoted within there and was part of like their leadership program and all of that. But it wasn't happening soon enough for me. And at the time, my husband was, had a management position at a restaurant in downtown San Diego. And so both of us were working so much and we hardly saw each other. And he was putting in like 10, 12-hour days, like really insane, just completely being taken advantage of there as well. Yeah. And then, I was working so much and I was going through a master's in business program. Like, I always knew, like, ever since I was little, I was like, I'm going to own my own business, like starting in Girl Scouts. It's like, this is my jam. Like, I love to sell. People love to buy from me. And this is what I just, I had a vision for my life. And it was me like running the show. Yeah. So yeah, my husband started looking on Craigslist for businesses. And I'll always remember the phone call because he like called me at work when I was at Nordstrom. And he like found a place that it was a coffee shop and it's called North Park where this coffee shop is. And at the time, it wasn't crazy popular yet, but it was in Forbes magazine as like the top 13 hipster towns in the US. And that was really cool to be a hipster. And we were like, oh, yeah, like this is going to be good. Like we need to take advantage of this because the price was good. It was in North Park and we love North Park. We love coffee shops and it was in a great location. So we're like, yeah, let's do it. And so, yeah, we, it still like boggles my mind to this day. Cause I'm like, how did this happen? How did we do this? And it was really looking back, it's like exactly what I preach about belief. And that I continue to work on myself, like in different areas. But at the time, like the belief was so strong, like we had to do it. It was just like in our body, like we had to do it. And so we found a way to do it. And we were getting married. We didn't have any money to like buy a coffee shop that I think it was $30,000, which is a great price for a business, a brick and mortar business.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. But yeah, and at the time, like his credit score was bad and it was just a pure miracle. The woman that sold it to us, she ended up like financing it to us, like not through the bank. We just were able to make payments to her. So anyway, we just like made it work. And looking at the pictures of this cafe before, well, like when we first opened it, we did not have a sign. We did not have a sign on our business. We got furniture from our apartment.
Wow.
Okay. And we had a home espresso machine, which is like embarrassing in the coffee industry. Like who has a home espresso machine? Like
I have to know, what was it? Was it like an espresso?
Yeah.
Like a Keurig.
Not a Keurig, but it was just like, just like a mini one.
Oh my gosh.
Commercial ones are big and they're like engines,
and they're very, very expensive. Right. That's what I was just going to say. My parents have an Italian restaurant and those things ain't cheap.
Exactly. So we could not afford that at the time. So yeah, we just did it and people started coming in and it was weird, but it was awesome because we were like, wow, we get to do this. And we worked so much, but it was different because it was ours, know?
Yes. I'm about 5 weeks out now from being a corporate dropout at the time of recording. Mm-hmm. And that's been the best thing. Like my husband came and remarked to me, you're still in your office all day. You can go to lunch or you could go walk on the beach, but you're still in here all day. I'm like, yeah, baby, I'm in building mode right now, but it's different. You don't mind it when you're building for you. It's such a big difference.
It truly is. Yeah. Time goes by so quickly.
So the thing I find remarkable about this story too, just aside from the scrappiness and the making it work, I mean, I have a tendency to overbuy. I want to, have the best of everything when I start. And I'm realizing that for business, that's not really that smart. So I give you a lot of kudos for starting with a home espresso machine and furniture from your apartment and no sign. But the thing that I also find really remarkable about this story is that going into business with your spouse is daunting at any point. But the fact that you did this 4 days after you got back from your honeymoon is especially intriguing to me. What advice would you give for the person listening that wants to go into business with their spouse, but they're very worried about how they're going to balance that and make that work?
Oh, yeah. To be honest, I'm still figuring it out.
Fair.
That has been one thing that's been very challenging. And my advice would be to have boundaries around, you need to come together about what's really important to you, about keeping the marriage a certain way, right? Because you don't want to end up to be honest, I love talking about work with him. That's not one of our rules. We're allowed to talk about work because it really does light us up. It's it's a part of us.
Yeah.
That is something that we connect on. So I'm why would I shun that or pretend that's not there? Because that's when our creativity comes out together. So that's fine with me. But I think the things that we've worked through is space, being okay. We need some space away from each other.
Yeah.
Because it was just getting too, we were just together 24/7, especially in the beginning when it's just us. And what helped us in our relationship was getting support, being supported by our employees or other people, bringing in other people to our business. But definitely having conversations around the marriage. Okay, let's do this to protect the marriage. We want to make sure that you're still getting those desires met and not becoming just business partners,
Totally.
You got to have fun.
Let me ask you too. So the business sounds energizing, although I'm sure there are parts of it that aren't. Did you kind of set boundaries around those things that were energy leaks, that you'd only talk about those at certain times so that it didn't creep in and sort of, ruin the time when you were off the clock, so to speak? Not that you're ever off the clock, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, the hard thing with restaurants though, is when your restaurant is being open, it's open and being run all day, the most random things come up. You have to practice resiliency like no other. I'm really good at that. But I think that honestly, resiliency is going to be your best friend because you don't know what will come up. And some things need your attention. Yes. So I'll give you an example. One of the boundaries we put up was our location to the cafe, because we lived in a house that was 2 blocks away from the cafe. We were oh, this is going to be great. We can walk to the cafe if they ever need us. If our employees need us, or if something happens, we can be there in 2 minutes and walk there. And then we learned that just made us so accessible
Yes.
The cafe is like, whoa, there's like no boundaries and we're just too overly available.
Yeah.
And so we had to put those boundaries with ourselves, and then also empowering our employees to be like, no, you can do this. Like, you get to call the shots and this is how you do this. So it really had to do with like learning how to let go of your responsibilities and delegating. And I'm a recovering people pleaser. So that's one of the areas that was really hard for me, is to delegate to my employees. Like, I just had such a hard time with that. So that's been one of my growing areas. But one of the things that I learned one of the reasons why I got into hypnotherapy was because of the restaurant. Because working at a cafe and operating a cafe, you can get really stuck in the day-to-day, right?
Yes.
And that's actually when I found Kayla Craft and, her podcast, and started getting really interested in the mindset. And because I was like, it's 6 years later and I'm still here at Restaurant Depot, and Restaurant Depot is like where we get all of our inventory.
Oh, yep. I know it well. Being in the industry too, a child of the industry. Yep. My parents make many a trip there too.
How was your experience with that as the child?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think it would be wonderful to buy that from my parents one day when they're ready to retire, but I would not run it. I would have a GM, because you are not home on holidays, depending if you're open or not. You're not home at night. I mean, my dad is from Italy and I don't speak Italian because he was not home enough to teach it to me. So that kind of sums it up, right?
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about it.
It's a blessing, but it's a very hard industry. So, okay. So it's 6 years later and you're in Restaurant Depot. Sorry to derail you.
Yeah. So I was like in the, driving to Restaurant Depot, and I'm like, oh my God, like here I am again, like doing the same thing. Why am I still doing this? I don't enjoy this. I don't enjoy going to Restaurant Depot. It's like the worst. And I had 2 kids. Like, I had both of my babies, running the cafe, and like worked up until the day I went into labor. And then I would like have the baby and then come back like 4 days later, be like, okay, I'm good. Like, let's go. Like, my body was just like full on survival trauma mode, and I wasn't even aware,
That made me tired hearing that.
Oh, I don't even know what was happening. Like, I do know what was happening now in retrospect, but at the time I was like, no, this is where I need to be. Like, this is where I find my value, is in working.
Yeah.
But I would bring my babies with me to the cafe, and I would work, and they would be there, and it was interesting. And then I would bring the baby with me to Restaurant Depot, and then you have to get one of those big carts and push around. I put the baby on the cart, and then I'd like breastfeed after loading the stuff into the van. It was exhausting. Like, that was just, like, yeah, it's making me tired thinking of it. Like, I would never do that again.
Yeah.
So anyway, then I was listening to the Mommy Millionaire podcast. Shout out to her. And she was interviewing a business hypnotist. Okay. In this exact moment where I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, why is this happening? And he was talking all about the subconscious mind and how you can program your mind to make more money. And I was like, what? Like, I need to do that. And like, please teach me this skill. And I was just so fascinated with everything that he was saying. And he's super charismatic. His name's Marshall Silver. He's like a stage hypnotist as well, and was in Vegas for 50 years. He's just like, you just get sucked into everything he's saying. But yeah, it was amazing. And then he was giving away a seminar, like a vacation to Vegas, for the first 10 listeners who signed up to win. And I was like, I never win anything, but I'm just going to see what happens. And so I did. And then I won. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I won a vacation to go to his seminar. And like, of course, had all these limiting beliefs come up before I went. Like, my ego is totally trying to talk me out of not going, or out of going. And then so I go to the seminar by myself, no kids. I just had a baby like 9 months before. So there was some guilt there.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Mom guilt's real.
But then when I went to the seminar, it just completely changed my life. And there was about 100 of us, and we ate fire. Like, I ate fire. Like, my 7-year-old thinks I am just magical because I did that.
I think you're magical because of that.
Yeah, he asked me to do it like at home. Like, no, I'm not going to eat fire at home. You can't do that with a professional with me. But and then he put us in hypnosis, like all of us on the ballroom floor at this hotel. There's like about 100 of us. We all lay down and he puts us in a hypnotic state. The first day I got distracted and my mind wasn't allowing it to happen. The second day I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I've never done this with you, but the type of hypnosis he did to get us into a trance was to conduct our bodies to like stand up and imagine like we're being drifted, or being pulled by like 1,000, 1,000,000 balloons. So
oh, wow.
Like I actually got up and my body was like, felt like it was levitating.
Wow.
And then he instructs you to lay back down. And then he did like a future pacing hypnosis where you visit your future self. And I saw the house I was living in, and I saw my car in the driveway, and I saw the living room and the fireplace and the dining room. And he walked us through this whole imagery of us having a party and the people that were there. And it was just absolutely fascinating. And then he had us, he asked the question, what is your vocation? And it came through me, hypnotherapist. And I was like, what?
Like crystal clear. I remember hearing you say on your podcast.
Yes. Like just came out of nowhere and it was just loud. Right. And so when we got out of hypnosis, I was like embarrassed. I did not want to tell anyone what came through. My first thought was like, you don't have the voice for that. And now that's like one of the compliments I get when someone wakes up, right?
Yeah, you do have a very soothing voice in hypnotherapy. Yeah, that's true.
But it's just funny. It's funny how our mind works, right? It tells us these things. And so then the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. I can kind of see myself doing that. That's interesting. And there was just this part of me that was just being pulled, right? It wasn't my mind. It was like in my body. And my body was just like pulling me towards learning more and looking online and researching. And then I found a school. And the first, I was actually deciding between doing it online or doing it in person. And I decided to do it in person. And yeah, I fell in love with it ever since. It's like life-changing, and I'm obsessed with it and will continue to be obsessed with it.
One of the things too that jumped out at me as I was listening to more of your story on your podcast is that you were in a pretty low point before this, really depressed. Do you feel like it really took that pit to reach your peak?
Yes. And now that I'm aware of it and I'm seeing it in other people and I'm learning so much about change, right? And why people change. And it usually takes our breaking points, the lowest points in our lives, to redirect us, because we're creatures of habit. We work on habit. And when we're just in our habits all day long, habits of thought, belief, action, behaviors, we're living mindlessly. Right. And then it takes these moments in our life that are so painful in order to change, in order to decide to get out of our comfort zone, even though it's been sucking,
Right.
And then it's like, okay, this is going to be my catalyst for change. So yeah, before that, I was so depressed. My mom had passed away 8 weeks before my second son was born. And that was incredibly painful. And I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. It did not end well. And so I was just living with like this unfinished business in my body, and a lot of anger and a lot of depression and hurt. And wow, now that like you don't realize all the stuff that you suppress in your body, it just becomes so normal. Whatever you've been experiencing in your childhood up until your adult life, like you don't realize the stuff that is actually not for your highest good, right?
Totally.
So, yeah, Tony Robbins talks about this, about the different ways that people feel motivated to change, right? You have to be motivated. And one of those is pain. Humans are motivated by pain. So if someone who is listening is in that position, that means that it's only uphill from here. Like, yes, you hit your rock bottom. That means things are about to get great for you.
And I've said this on a previous podcast when I share my own story of mental health struggles, is that, you know, you really, until you've experienced something like that, you're not going to be able to really meet your highest potential. Because if you think of any of the best stories that you've read or the best movies that you watched, hopefully you are the protagonist and the hero of the story. The hero is going to go through some really crappy stuff before the climax of the story and them achieving their potential or the goal or winning. So yeah, to anyone that's listening, that's going through it, you're about to have a pop. So it's only up from here. So let's talk a little bit more about the hypnotherapy piece too, because even before I went through it, I was kind of nervous, like, oh, is she going to make me like do a funny dance or something? I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but I think there's a lot of stigma around hypnosis because people think, you know, they're going to be out of control. Give us like the high level, like what does it mean to be under hypnosis in the context of hypnotherapy?
Yes. So I love talking about this because I love debunking everything. So hypnosis is something we experience every single day. First of all, we all experience a form of trance, going in and out of trance. And my belief is that I'm actually dehypnotizing people from the hypnosis they've been in for their entire lives. So in hypnotherapy, you go into a theta brainwave state. And theta brainwave state is like daydreaming. It's right before you're sleeping. And it's just a very relaxed state of mind. And in this state of mind, your mind is more suggestible. Okay. So I can say suggestions to you and give your subconscious mind, which is 95% of you. Let me back up a little bit. So with hypnotherapy, we're accessing your subconscious mind. So we have your conscious mind and your subconscious. And your conscious mind is only 5% of you. That's all. That's the ego coming in, saying all these things. That's the loud thoughts that you're having. That's all surface level. And the famous image that people use to show this in an image is of the iceberg, right? You have the tip of the iceberg. That's your conscious mind. That's only 5%. And then the bottom of the iceberg under the water is 95% of you. And that is your magnificent subconscious mind. Okay. This is where you want to focus. Like, why would you focus? Come on. Why would you focus on all the surface level stuff if the deep, juicy stuff running the show, running your life, giving you the results that you have in your life, they're in your subconscious mind. So through hypnotherapy, we're able to bypass the conscious mind, bypass the ego and say, hey, ego, you're safe. You don't have to run the show now. Like, you get to relax and you access the subconscious mind. So there you have access to all the wisdom that you have in your body, right? Every single experience you've ever had in your life, your subconscious mind took a photocopy of it. It's a perfect filing cabinet. It has a perfect memory. It does not forget. So people who are saying, oh, well, I don't remember, your body remembers. If you were to access your subconscious mind, we could go back right now, like, and take you to where you first started believing something about yourself. I've had people go back to when they were first born.
That's so wild to me. But one thing you did tell me too is that the subconscious will only reveal what you are ready to have revealed.
Correct. So your subconscious mind is very, very wise. And one of the ways it might be, trying to speak to you right now or reveal to you is if certain memories keep coming to your mind right now. And you're like, why does that keep coming up? Your subconscious mind is showing you like a part of you that is stuck in time, a part of you that is unresolved. And maybe that memory is showing you, getting made fun of in middle school. Okay. And that's because that part of you in middle school has some healing to process. And your subconscious mind wants to protect you from unresolved things. Or actually, your conscious mind wants to protect you, but your subconscious holds on to all unresolved emotions. But it doesn't want you to remember them because it's trying to protect you. So your conscious mind comes in and it distracts you. Like, okay, well, let's just look over here. That didn't feel good. Let's just keep going. Let's just suppress that. Especially if we're not taught to, process our emotions. So then our subconscious mind loves symbols. It loves images. So it's being a hypnotherapist is so much fun because I look at myself as like an artist of your mind. Like we get to paint a picture and your mind loves pictures. It's like, okay, how magical can we get here? Because your subconscious mind will eat that up. Be like, yes, we love this. Let's take a magic carpet ride and time travel back to when this happened to you and let's figure it out and let's resolve it. So there's a lot of healing that can be done to heal those past wounds. And for entrepreneurs who feel stuck in their business, it's often a part of you that's stuck in time, which might sound weird to people right now. But yeah, it's a past version of you that is wounded. So what I see a lot with entrepreneurs is because it's a whole different ballgame, right? It's different when you're working for yourself. You're putting yourself out there with your gifts and your talents, and it's only you. All your stuff comes up, right? All your limiting beliefs about yourself come up. And what we can do with hypnotherapy is access, okay, what is getting in the way? And your subconscious mind will reveal that to you. So then we get to clear it up using different tools. And then there's certain language patterns that your subconscious mind will just listen to, right? So if you're wanting to make more money, then we can use different language patterns, depending on what the limiting beliefs are, to tell your mind, no, you get to make more money, right? It's easy for you to make money. It's effortless. You're learning how to do it. So yeah, your mind is just in a more suggestible state.
In your opinion, do you feel like it is the subconscious that fuels imposter syndrome that any entrepreneur is going to face if they're being honest?
Imposter syndrome. So yes, I think that imposter syndrome shows up differently for a lot of people. It really depends on what's happening, but absolutely. There's a mixture of, the stories of the ego. What is the ego protecting by telling you these things? And whatever it is trying to protect you from is in the subconscious mind. So maybe there's a fear of judgment, which is what I see all the time. Yeah. Right? A fear of being yourself. And maybe you received messages over and over and over again in your life that it wasn't okay to speak up or be yourself or, be different. And you got the message that you weren't normal. right? You didn't fit in. Well, that's painful. And so your subconscious is like, yeah, we don't want that to happen again. So you don't get to go online and launch this program or start this podcast because we don't want you to get hurt again.
Right. I feel like really anyone who wants to own their own business and be successful needs hypnotherapy at some level, because like no one escapes like the age of 0 through 7 unscathed, which actually that's a segue. Tell everyone listening, when is it that your subconscious is formed? And I think this is particularly helpful for parents to hear of young kids.
Oh, yes. So your subconscious mind is formed between the ages of 0 to 7. And so from that age, like if you have children at that age right now and you observe them, there is no logical thinking, right?
That's for sure.
They just do it. They don't think about like, oh, I'm just going to color the wall. And should I do this? Or will my mom be mad at me or whatever? Like, no, they just do it without thinking. And they're absorbing their environment at a rapid speed, like a sponge, right? Kids feel energy and they're absorbing all the energy around them. They're absorbing the beliefs that their parents have. They're absorbing the messages about relationships, about money, about success, about self-confidence, about self-love. And so they're just their bodies, right? Your subconscious mind is your body, all the cells of your body. So their bodies are just absorbing all these messages and forming belief systems between the ages of 0 to 7. And then because our subconscious minds are so efficient and our bodies are efficient, our mind thrives on efficiency, right? Its main job is to keep you safe and to conserve energy. And in order to do that, it has to run habitually. And so it takes everything it learned from 0 to 7. And then when you start forming your conscious mind and you start becoming an adult, you're just working on habits now. You're just taking everything you believed or learned to believe at a young age, and then you just replay it over and over and over again. So, and that shows up in your thoughts. It shows up in your life experiences. It shows up in what you're attracting. It shows up in your relationship. So maybe you keep attracting the same type of guy over and over and over again, right? You're like, what the heck? Why do I keep attracting this person, this type of person? And it's because that messaging, whatever it is in your subconscious mind to attract. It's like, oh, this is the data we received about relationships. So this is what we're going to recreate. That's it. So, if you have a child right now, one of the things that you can do is it's okay. Like we all mess up, right? We're not perfect parents, but I would highly encourage directing their subconscious minds to what you want them to believe about themselves. So be really mindful of what kind of messaging you're giving to them. So this is where our own stuff comes up, because it's like, whoa, I'm what I'm saying sounds like my mom, even though I didn't want to be like my mom, right? But it's showing up in a way that's like, oh, well, I'm kind of breaking their spirit, or I'm like telling them not to say something, even though that's what's on their mind. They're not being able to express themselves. Like, I want to make sure I have 2 boys that are 7 and 3. Like, I want to make sure that they know that it's super safe for them to express themselves, right? It's safe for them to express their emotions, their feelings, all of that. And your subconscious mind doesn't hear negatives, doesn't hear it. So when you tell your kid, don't do this, don't do that, they go and do the thing, because all their subconscious mind heard was go do it, right?
Right. It's like if you tell your brain not to think about blue cars, you think about blue cars, right?
Exactly. So you want to make sure you're giving them the instruction to tell them what it is you want them to do.
That's really, really good advice. So I've got one more question for you for this part of the interview. There is a part 2, so more on that in just a minute if you're listening. After you started this hypnotherapy work, did you notice your business grow? I know that you had 3 locations of the coffee shop. Did that happen after you were able to like process through some of this and like rise up to be a better version of yourself? Or tell me a little bit about that expansion piece and what this did for you.
Yeah. So as far as the coffee shops, I definitely found myself in a more efficient leadership position. I was able to delegate more. I was able to attract more money, and I was able to, it really had to do with my own emotional intelligence. So being able to handle certain things or being, more peaceful in my business. But I honestly, at the time, I wanted to step away from the cafes. I wanted to step away. So I was able to form my own company and start going all in on that and helping other entrepreneurs through the same things that I knew that they were going through. So yeah, as for me, I really learned how to delegate more. Like recovering from the people pleasing has been huge because that all comes from trauma.
Yeah.
I think it's just what I really love the most about it. And it's nothing external. It's all internal, where it's like, I feel more free on the inside, and I'm no longer allowing my external world to conduct my internal world. And that's not 100% because we're human. There's always room. Right. But I do have the tools and the awareness to be like, whoa, I'm letting this happen now. Right. So, but that has been the greatest thing that I've gotten out of it, is just my own emotional freedom. And then watching that shift and translate into my external world. And there's still like so much work for me to be done. Like I feel in this moment, like I'm just getting started, to be honest. So,
which is a great way to feel, isn't it?
Yes, it's exciting.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm very excited for the second part of this as well. Before I share more about what part 2 will be about, can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you, where they can find your podcast and your coaching and hypnotherapy services?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at Kelsey Padigos. And I have my website, www.confidencecompany.org, and then the Confidence Company podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and Google. And also I have a free gift for you. When you text the word money to 619-304-5889, you will receive a free money hypnosis to help you start rewiring your relationship with money, because you can make more money with your subconscious mind. So go do that. I love that.
I need to do that too.
Yes, you do.
So the second part of this interview with Kelsey, if you are spiritual or spiritually curious, you need to listen to the second half. So next week, you can hear Kelsey talk about how she reconciles manifestation and the law of attraction with her belief in God and Jesus. And I think you'll be quite surprised what happened to her under hypnotherapy, as well as what is happening to a number of her clients under hypnotherapy. So if you are interested in spirituality, law of attraction, this is a must listen coming next week. So in the meantime, thank you so much for listening to the show today. If our episode inspired you or added value to your life in some way, please subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can help me get the word out about the show by taking a screenshot of this episode and sharing it to social media and tagging me and Kelsey. And I would love to connect with you on Instagram and hear how this show is helping you. So don't hesitate to slide into the DMs anytime. You can find me at Corporate Dropout Official or Alacia Citro. That's ALESSIACITRO and 2 underscores. Until next time, remember, you are a badass. Stay focused, stay hungry, and dare to drop out.